Hi there, I'm Heidi Hurley, and I'm here for another exciting session here of exploring and creating. The purpose of this session or these workshops is to share with you some of the techniques, some of the skills, so that you can build from them and learn from them and possibly find your own creative outlook. I think it's awesome. So, a little bit about myself. My name is Heidi Hurley. I'm a retired art and design educator. I've taught art and design for probably 35 years. I was at Braintree Public Schools for quite a long time and at Mass College of Art. My background is design and illustration, and I happen to love working with pencils and graphite. I like to call it sketching. I do a lot of sketching on my own. I'm that person that would tell the kids when they're taking notes in class to sketch, you know, helps them concentrate. Some people don't like that, but I think it's a great idea. I've always sketched, always kept sketchbooks, and so I'm glad to share a lot of this with you. So a couple of things for today. I want to make sure that you understand that what I say or what I'm showing you is not a rule. It might be a technique. It might be something that you might want to try, or you might say, I don't want to try it. You know, you don't know unless you try. Remember that thing with trying oatmeal or something? If you didn't like it, you have just try it, have a taste. Everybody's familiar with pencils. You know, like you get pencils on the golf course, you get pencils when you were in school, you get pencils. They're a strong tool, and a lot of people use graphite pencils for sketching, for illustrating, for thinking, problem solving, just a really fun way to work. And there's so many hidden little things. I found some awesome gems, and it's really awesome to use these things. So again, what I'm going to say is that I want you to explore, and there's no mistakes. If you don't like what you did, that's okay. You know, don't show anyone. If it didn't work, if yours doesn't look like mine, I'm going to do stuff that I probably won't like either. But if I do something, I might go back into it and rework it or change it or something. But please remember, there's no mistakes, only good oops. You know, if you make something, have a blast with it. Pencils aren't as loose as some materials. What I mean by loose is pencils are very precise. But I found some cool things with pencils that I didn't even know existed, so it allows you to loosen up and have a lot of fun too. So that works good. There might be that aha moment when you're working with the pencils and you say, this really works for me. And I think that's great. I'm going to go through some materials and show you what I've found, what's in my supply. I did go out and purchase a few items, and that's where I found the really cool stuff, and I'll share those with you. I also go through some of the papers that we use, or that I've used in all going down the line. So I guess part of the thing is that I want you to explore, I want you to try. Any questions that you have, feel free to email at bcam, or feel free to reach out through YouTube. You know, that's where these are posted, and I'm glad you're watching. So I think that that's really awesome. All right, so let's get started, and I'll show you a few things. I got most of my reference about graphite and the history of graphite and all of that through books and also looking online. I found a really awesome website, and I don't know if I know you can't see my phone, but I pulled it up because I was really, really excited. It's called Jackson's. I was just doing a little research about pencils, and I found this site. And what it did is I was looking up erasers, like some of the history of erasers, and it came up with a bajillion types of erasers. So there's so many that are out there, ways that you can use them. There's also books that are out there. I think I'm going to reach in front here, but there are books called The Artist's Handbook, and you can find them at yard sales now because nobody likes books. But this is a gem of a book. Talks about the equipment, the materials, very similar to what we're doing here, but it's in book form. And this goes into the history of graphite, and it goes into the types of pencils and the types of erasers. So a lot of these books that you might find at a yard sale or find somewhere These are really awesome. I love them. I got my skills from pencils, from graphites, from going to art school, or even I think back in high school. I think I used different pencils, but like I knew what a 4B was or a 6B, but I didn't know about all of the other parts or different materials that were available. When I went to college, there was something in my pack for my freshman foundation, and I had no idea what this was. It was a compressed graphite stick. And once I used that, it was like, oh, this is awesome. So had I known about that sooner, I probably would have used it. I'm going to share that with you, my secret, later on today. And then we can get into erasers as well, so when we talk about different things. Where do I get my materials? Well, just recently, I made a purchase, and I forgot it was in the back of my car, but you can get a lot of the things locally at some of the arts and crafts stores. They're basic, and some of them are their line. So I forget the name of their brand, but there's a different style or technique. Oh, I know what it is, Artist Loft. There's nothing wrong with it. It's graphite. It's not professional grade per se, but it's a really good, it works, right? There's another company that I do a lot of ordering online with Dick Blick. Dick Blick is I do all my orders online. You order a certain amount over, it's free shipping, so it's great. There's also Dick Blick in Boston. If you haven't gone to an art supply store, you gotta go. The local little artsy craftsy ones are good, but go to a dedicated art supply store. You will go crazy. It is amazing. You can touch the paper. They have samples out there. You have no idea. It is amazing. So put that on your bucket list. Go to a really cool art supply store. So again, books are helpful. I also use books for reference, and as I go through the techniques, I'll show you some of the art techniques that are there, and then there's some other cool fun things that you can do with graphite pencils. So let's talk a little bit about pencils and pencil types, because I think if you understand the types of pencils, then you can branch off to all the other parts. You're all familiar with a 2B pencil. That's the pencil that maybe you did or didn't do it, but when you went to school and you had to fill in the dots for all the exams, right? And you had to go do that. A 2B pencil is the range that it's in. It's soft enough that it can leave an impression. That's why you used a 2B. When it went through the scanner or the roller, when it pressed down, you had to press down hard with your pencil, it leaves a mark, and that would record whatever your score was. So the 2B is actually a pretty soft pencil, where a 2H, which means hard, wouldn't leave that mark. So I just wanted to point that out. I did find a really good graphic here that explains the different types of pencils, and I'm just going to put the pencil set that I got from the arts and crafts store that comes with everything. So if you're a beginner or you just want a beginner set, you can take a look at it. But the HB, or the number 2, is right in the middle. So H pencils are harder graphite. So what is graphite? Graphite today is a compound of graphite and clay and other minerals. It's not just graphite alone. Graphite is very expensive. And back in the 1600s, they'd find these shards of graphite and stick them in a stick, and that's where our pencil came from. So graphite comes in different weights depending upon how well they're ground or what they're mixed with. So the H stands for hard, and B stands for black. So if you hear 4B, it's a number 4 in as far as softness, and B means black, whereas 4H is 4 as hard as softness, but it's a hard pencil, and I'll show you how that works in just a second. So this basic set goes from HB, and then it goes all the way over here to 2B, it has 4B, 6B, they go all the way up to 9B. So they have some really big numbers. 2H is, or 4H is what someone might sketch with first because the lines are so light and they can be easily erased. They also make noise. I always tell my students, listen to your pencil. But if you put that pencil on the paper, you're going to hear a little scraping because it is so hard, whereas a softer pencil will glide over the paper. So those are a couple of things to point out when we're talking about graphite pencils. All right, so there's different types of pencils, and I'll talk about the other things that are here that are fun in just a second. We also have what are known as compressed graphite sticks. These are the sticks I told you about. They are also, they're B for black, but there would be a 2B, a 4B, a 6B, all the way up. And again, it has to do with the 6 would be softer, and the 2B would be a little bit harder. So I wouldn't have to, it would smudge more as a 6, and the 2 wouldn't smudge as much. And when I demonstrate what they look like, you'll have the opportunity to see that. There are also leadless pencils. No, backwards. Woodless, sorry, pencils. And this one is an 8B, so 8, way up there, really soft B. And this one is a 2B. It would be the same lead that's in a 2B pencil. So if I really wanted to smudge something, I'm probably going to use my 8. If I want to have a little more control, I might stay. How do these work? Well, they do have a coating over them, but you can use a pencil sharpener, and I'll show you the different types of pencil sharpeners I have. But you would use a pencil sharpener, just like anyone, to get that point. All right. So we have that. And then my final really cool, awesome blossom major discovery that I fell in love with. These are graphite sticks, but they're huge. All right, so these are the little babies. Remember I told you in college, I was like, yeah, these. I'm in an art supply store going, yeah, these are not very expensive. Individually, they're $2.10. So each one. But what's so cool about these? Again, they're leadless. So I don't have paper, I'm not leadless, woodless, sorry. But what I can do is peel off the paper, and I can really, really use this if I wanted to use a big piece, which is great. There was a young artist that was in there when I was buying these. He goes, I love them. But wait till I show you what these do. But this is my discovery. This one's water soluble. So I can't wait to show this to you. So water soluble means it's like I could paint with it. It's like it soaks in with the water. It blends with the water. I can almost use this like a watercolor technique. This is life-changing if you love to work with graphites and pencils. So this is really, really fun. Can't wait to show you. All right, so we have erasers. There are many, many, many types of erasers. You can use your elementary school pink pearl if you want to. The big thing about erasers is that with graphite, if you're using graphite to get rid of any shavings, or if you're using the eraser, if you're using it, it leaves little shards, you know, and people will use their hand and brush it away. That'll cause your picture to smudge. So sometimes you'll see that there are different types of erasers that won't do that. So there is something called a kneaded, K-N-E-A-D-E-D, kneaded eraser. They come in little squares. I have another one that's here. They come in different colors. They come in a little set. You don't need the whole thing. Some people might want to use the whole thing, but you really don't need it. Need it, ha, get it, need it, ha. No, anyway. So the way to activate the kneaded eraser is that you would stretch it, and then I'm just going to use half, and then I'm going to just pull it till it's pliable and soft. And what's so awesome about kneaded erasers is that they kind of clean themselves, so they really don't run out. I have used some types of kneaded erasers where they get gummy, and I've actually had to throw them away, but you can see this is bright white, but then if I go to use it, it'll start to get dark, and then I'll go back and knead it again to make it so that it's cleared out. I wonder if this one's, yeah, it smells good. They have a nice smell to them. So the other positive thing about a kneaded eraser is I can form it into a shape, and I can get into a little teeny tiny corner. I can also go into it and flatten it out, make a real thin line. So a kneaded eraser is almost like a must be, but one of the best parts about a kneaded eraser, it doesn't leave shards or extra things left over in the back, like the eraser, if you're working with it. There are also plastic erasers. This one's by Prismacolor, and it works. It does leave residue. I've worked with artists and illustrators where we cut them to get that nice sharp point, so you might want to use your kneaded eraser to clean these off if they get dirty. You can take an X-Acto knife and you can cut it and get in fine. These are also terrific to use. I have many different types. They get small, they get large, some are soft, some are really hard. So, you know, think about or try a bunch of different kneaded erasers. The erasers aren't expensive. It's just, what do you want it to do? That's the big thing. So my suggestion was definitely get a kneaded eraser, try that out, see what it's like. I don't know the cost of them right now, because back in the old days when I was in college, they were maybe 25 cents. So I don't think they'd be more than $1, okay? And they come in a set. Sharpeners. So I went to college, as I said, and I had an instructor who said, all you need is one thing. You just need a knife, like a little pocket knife, and that's all you want to do, because you're wasting your materials if you have a pencil sharpener. So I have an X-Acto knife that I would just whittle and make my point. It's kind of hard to travel if I'm traveling with an X-Acto knife, but I also have one of those little tiny pocket knives, the Swiss pocket knife. You can't travel even in airlines now with pocket knives, so I don't bring them with me, nor an X-Acto knife really. But that's just something for you to think about when you're working, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. The other thing is they sell double-barreled, silver, easy to travel with pencil sharpeners. And the thing about pencil sharpeners, the more you turn it, the more you're wasting you're actually wasting the lead. So with a whittle, you're not wasting it. I hope that makes sense, but it's something that you might want to play around with. I know this is far away, but there are two holes. There is a very big hole, and there is a little hole. The hole is the standard pencil, and the big hole is more for colored pencils or larger pencils or art sticks or something. So the one you use them. They also, if you're really crazy, they have screws in them, so you can unscrew them and clean them off and replace the blades. These are not expensive, and I don't think I've ever replaced a blade, but I have many, many, many of these pencil sharpeners. So there's plastic ones, I have some that are corroded, I have little itty bitty baby ones. So there's a lot of different pencil sharpeners. This looks like a cigarette holder, but it's not. So this, my friends, is a pencil extender. So if you have a pencil that you're bringing way, way, way down, they actually sell this little pencil extender that you stick your pencil on, so you're not dealing with, so if I push this on here, and it pushes up and holds it in place so that you have a longer pencil. I know I have favorite pencils that I work with. Do I use this? Very rarely, but some people might like that. So it's a pencil extender, so that you have that. All right, so I think I'm getting close to the end. I'm not sure if I have any other supplies. Oh, one of the things that you use with pencils, it's right in front of me. I'm going to use a fancy word with you. It's tortillon, Tortillon, tortillon. And these are rubbing stumps. And as you can see from here, there's different sizes, right? You can use these with pastels. You can use these with, I don't know. I think I said chalk, pastels, but mostly graphite. You can see charcoal, graphite. You can see from mine there's black on the end of them, because that's probably what I used. And then I would use these to blend or to smear or to smudge. I'm that person that likes to use my fingers. I use my fingers a lot, but when it gets really, really dirty or something like that, I may resort and go back to the rubbing stumps. Especially when you get to a large area that you might want to smudge with. These are good. The way you clean a rubbing stump, or tortillon, if you would like to use the French term, all these are paper rolled up into balls, and I would take my pencil, my tortillon and my eraser, and I would just put that on the surface and just clean that baby up. So that I could clean it up so it's not covered in the graphite. Here's my kneaded eraser, and I'm just gonna pull it and clean it off so I have a nice clean eraser. I don't know where the dirty stuff goes. It's probably on my hands. No, but if you look, it's back to white again, and it's disappeared like magic. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so we have gone through that. So let's talk about paper a little bit. I know I'm talking a lot. And then once we get through the paper, I'll do some demos with the materials, and then I'll do a final product. So paper. When using graphite, you do want a surface of the paper where the graphite sticks to the paper. You don't want to slide off of it. So there's something called cold press and hot press. Cold press has texture to it. Hot press is really smooth and slick. So they make what's called illustration board. And illustrators will use illustration board for their drawings. And most illustrators won't work on paper, they'll work on the board for a couple reasons. Number one, it doesn't buckle and it's very, very stiff. There's different, you can buy different weights of it. And it's, you work directly on it. So I have this, it looks like mat board and it's not. This is the smooth surface, which is the hot press. I would use this for ink. I would use this maybe for gouache. I'd use this for marker, but I would not be using this with pencil because it would slick and slide. Now, can you use it? Sure. You might find that you really like it. It's really smooth and kind of fun to use. You can hear the difference here. This has some tooth to it. This will hold the pencil and it will smudge really nicely and evenly. And this is the cold press. So this is illustration board. You can buy illustration board in large sheets and then cut it down to size. And I'll demonstrate on this so I can show you the different ways that that works. There's also mixed media. This is Artist Loft again, not very expensive. Mixed media paper, it's thicker, has some tooth to it. It feels great. It's kind of fun to work with. And that's what I have taped down on my board here. Bristol paper also comes in smooth, hot and cold press. Bristol paper is okay to work with. It's not as smooth as, oh, look at that, there's a drawing. It's not as smooth as hot press board, but it is easy to work with. So artists use a lot of Bristol. And it's good for pencil, pen, and technical drawing. Technical drawing is very precise, so you don't want to have that bump or jump in there. Very, very fine drawing. Watercolor paper you can work with, pastel paper, and even a gray paper. Some art supply stores sell little sets of paper that are samples. So Canson, C-A-N-S-O-N, is one of my favorite brands. They'll sell a set that has all kinds of paper for you to try before you actually get out there and use it. So they'll have, these are great to invest in. There's recycled drawing paper, sketch paper, vellum, which is awesome to work with, heavy drawing paper, thin drawing paper, black paper, all different types of paper. So my suggestion for everybody is when you go into go to that art supply store and see if they have any sample sets of paper, you know, and then get one of these little sets. And then once they have the sample set, or you could even write to Canson or to somebody, once they have that set, you can try the paper out before you invest in a big block of that paper. So excellent, excellent, excellent. So I'm going to just show you some of the things that all these different materials do. And I taped on here some of the, this is the multimedia paper. And this right here is the cold pressed board that I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to start first just by showing you the different pencils and the different weights, because what's going to happen is it'll kind of open up to you and you'll say, oh yeah, I get it. So I'm going to take the 2B pencil and the 2H pencil. And so 2B means black, 2H means hard. So if I take the 2B pencil, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a little line there, right? So I just made a little dot. And on the left, I'm going to do the H. I can hear the difference. You know, this is harder, this is a lot softer. So I'm going to write up above here. This is my B, and this is my H, just so you can see. So here's this. I can press really, really hard and then go almost to the lightest that I possibly can. And then I can go on the other side really dark, and I can hear the pencil, and then I can get light. Is there a difference to the eye right now? Not really, but in the feel of the pencil, I can feel that. Smudge-wise, if I pull the B, it's going to smudge so much more than the H. All right, so I have the H versus the B. So what I might do is I might put, just for my own sake, I'm going to put a 2 there and a 2 there so I know what that is. Okay, so there's my 2s. Then I'm going to go into the next one. So I'm just going to grab the 4B. And then I'm going to grab the 4H if they have a 4H over here. Nope. So that set doesn't have one. So I'm going to do the 4B just so you can see the difference. So here's my B. I'm going to press this. It's soft and a lot blacker. I'm going to pull this across. And I'm going to make the number 4. Watch this. I'm just going to pull this. This is really dark and really soft. And then we're really lucky and really awesome. We've got an 8 here. The leads on 8s and bigger numbers, those leads tend to be bigger because they'll fall apart because they're so soft. So here's my 8. Oh, I can feel it. It's really, really soft. I've not used this brand before, so I'm not sure. They sell sets and all different. I can just, it's almost like it's gonna crack in my hand. And this is the 8. But if I smudge, it's like wicked awesome. You know, it's really, really good. So we've got the B's and the H's. So if I take, I love playing with these. This is a B, just a B by itself. B meaning black. It's probably the lightest one that they have. It's not as, I don't like it. In fact, I probably wouldn't ever use it. And we did the 8s. There's a 6B. We've got all different types. We've got back to the B, and then the HB. You can hear it. You can, like it's just not, it's not that smudgy. It's a hard edge. It's Great. So when you're sketching at the beginning of something, you might want to use like a 2H, or you want to use something that's really, really light, and then you can erase those lines really easy. And I can show you how that works. So if I take my eraser, I can go into it, and there's the little residue that's left over. It'll clean that up good, but it's not going to clean up really well with the darker colors. It's actually going to smudge it pretty much. So when you're working with the erasers, then when we've got the kneaded erasers, again, this won't leave a residue, and it will pick up anything else that's left over. So if I go like into this, see how it just picks it right up, and then I can, there's dirty, and then I can clean that up just as well. So pencils are fun to play with. It's fun to get your, oh, really? So there's all kinds of things that you can do with the pencils. So let's do this real fast. I'm going to turn this around. I want to show you the graphite sticks and the water soluble, and then we'll do a real quick drawing. So remember the aha? Like I was like, oh my God, these are so awesome. I think this one is the 6B, and if I turn this over, they imprint into this what they are. So I'm going to take my 4B. This is a full lead, right? So if I take, I'm not kidding. This is like the best thing. It just smudges. Look how beautiful. So I'm going to take this. And what I'm going to, that's all beautiful lead. I'm going to take my rubbing stump and I'm going to smooth it just to get in there. Look at how beautiful that works. It's just lovely. So then what I'm going to do, two things. I'm going to take my white eraser and I'm going to take it away. See how it does that? I can go into it and cut lines in. And then I can take my kneaded eraser and I can go into it. And it's almost, you can do this with compressed charcoal. They call it reverse. So you make your whole board black, and then you go in with your eraser, and then you erase away whatever it is that you want to come up with at the end. Isn't that awesome? All right, I'm doing too much talking. I just have to share my very last favorite, absolute favorite thing with you. So I told you that there's this water-soluble graphite pencil. So here it is. This is a 6B water-soluble graphite stick. This is not water-soluble. This is the 9B. This is illustration board. If I put water on this, it's not going to smudge or run. So I'm going to take my paintbrush just to start. And I'm just going to put some water on here. And I'm going to take my water-soluble pencil. And it's going to run. I can go in here and I can actually paint with the graphite. It is. If I go back into it with, it runs like watercolor. It is so awesome because it's so soft. And then I can take this water pencil and smooth this out. What a great way to put shadow or something onto a surface by using graphite pencil. And I think you remember how I was so excited about putting the watercolor on top of on top of something and letting it drip and have it happen. That's what I just found out that you can do with graphite. You know, if I want to just add that little shadow to the end. How cool is that? So 9B doesn't. It's not water soluble. So if I want to go back into it, it's not going to run. It's so cool. I betcha there's a lot that's going to happen with these. I'm really excited about it. So again, look at my hands, they're such a mess, but that's okay. I'm happy with that. So that's one of the great things that we can do with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just very quickly, we only have a couple of minutes left. I'm going to get started with a sketch, and I might finish it, I might not, but I'm going to work with this coffee mug. I'm going to take this away. I'm going to choose white on white, a very simple little drawing. And I'm going to look at the shape and the shadows and think about how I'm going to use my graphite sticks and my pencils to get it set up. So here's my pencil, here's my coffee cup, there's my setup. And I'm going to use my lightest pencil. So I'm going to go for the 2H or a 4H or something really light just to sketch it out. Right? So if I take this and I'm looking at the outside shape, this is just to get the shape. I'm looking carefully, I'm not trying to draw it perfectly, I'm just trying to get this thing started. And I find points between things. I kind of touch where it's dark. And then I can go into this and get depth and a ring. And I just have a basic outline shape that I'm starting to work with. Some artists, and I'm one of them, I do pencil sketches of illustrations of portraits. And I'm just going to show you this because there's very, very, very light, really light pencil lines. And then it's filled in with some of the techniques like cross-hatching with a pencil, creating lines, creating shadow. Very little blending. There's a little blending down on the neck down in here. So basically, I'm going to try to do the same thing with this cup. The same thing. So while I'm looking at this, I can define and get a little bit darker with my pencil. I can also pencil in where I see the shadow, because maybe that's something that I'm going to blend in. And I've got this edge. Dark on light. I love white on white. It's so much fun. And I'm just cross-hatching. If you notice right there, I'm just taking my pencil and cross-hatching. And down at the bottom. Might seem white to the eye, but it's really not white, because what I have are lots of different variations of gray that are happening. I have lots of different variations of white that are happening. Let's just take my smallest rubbing stump right here, and I'm going to define this shadow a little bit. And then I'm going to define this. So notice how it's starting to get some shape to it. The edge of my coffee mug. And I love coffee. I want to use the watercolor, the water-soluble thing so much. So this is my 2H. I've gone into that. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get a little bit darker with my 6B. And I'm going to take, what did I do? Wherever I did it. So if I'm going to take my 6B, I'm just going to get a little bit darker because I have a heavy shadow down underneath here. have the inside of this mug. I'm going to use the rubbing stump for this just to fill in a gray inside my mug. The inside of my mug has there's a nice contrast of the dark to the light from the front of the mug to the back of it. And I think my perspective might be off a little bit, but that's okay, I don't care. I'm just playing with shadow and color. And I'm gonna pull this. And now I'm gonna blend. See what's starting to happen? It's starting to come to life. My cup, I would always tell my students, my object that I'm drawing doesn't have black lines around it. It's not a Fred Flintstone cup. So I have to get rid of those lines by bringing the shadows or the lines up to that spot to give it some contrast, to get rid of those lines. Jumping around. And let's go into the eraser a little bit. These are great for portraits. And then if I take my kneaded eraser and say I want to just add some accent inside my, or on the edge of my mug, now I want to smudge out a little bit to give some shadow. Let's get the big 9B here. Again, it's the same. Let's smudge this, see what happens. I love it. All right, so as you can see, I could keep working on this all day. I think we're probably coming close to the end of the session. I never finish anything. I can always keep going in. I'm using my fingers, I'm using my hands, but I do want to say just the idea behind going back in there, pulling out some contrast, taking your kneaded eraser, taking your rubbing stump. Notice, oh, so awesome. Getting into this too much. But I think for all of you, try out pencils, try out graphite. See what you can come up with. See what you can come up with at home. I'm going to challenge you. Draw an egg by itself. All right? So this is Heidi Hurley, and I'm honored to be here to share creativity so you can try different materials and have a blast with whatever it is that you want to do. Graphite pencils are awesome to start with, great for sketching, great for drawing, and I hope you have the opportunity to do as much creating as you can. Please get in touch with us at BCAM. If you have any suggestions, what would you like to try out? What would you like to see me try out? How about some paper mache? But anything that you want to see or try, do give us a call, okay? So again, thanks to the Braintree Community Arts Center. Thank you very much to BCAM. This is a great time, and I look forward to you next time. This is Heidi saying, see ya.